Zarkon changed the projection to a heat map showing the few remaining counterfrequency nodes on Earth. That is the dilemma. If we activate the total purification weaponry, the energy saturation of the atmosphere and planetary crust will be immense. If the terrestrial entity possesses more of these dissonance projectiles and is capable of launching them amidst our purge, the chain reaction could be catastrophic for our own annihilation infrastructures. More of those weapons. Their production capacity for that technology should be nil after the second wave. Theoretically, yes, Zarkon admitted. But the persistence of this entity is anomalous. The missile was a one-time weapon. If they had, for example, 3 or 4 of those projectiles, and launched them in sequence while our battleships are exposed in purification formation, the risk of multiple key units suffering the same dissonance as the central harvester increases exponentially. They would not annihilate the fleet, but they would damage it so severely that recovery would be a massive resource drain for the hegemony, far exceeding the value of the planetary harvest. General Thrak intervened. Their adaptability is alarming. Every one of our attacks has been a lesson for them. HFY observed the terrestrial orb, his relentless KRTAC logic now in conflict. If we launch the purification, and they possess more of those weapons, they would fire upon us instantly. They definitely already know how to manufacture it and were able to do so in a few days. They took our invasion seriously and are definitely waiting for us to attack again. Our defenses are calibrated for mass destruction, not for internal corruption. They could make the harvest of this world, and perhaps even the next in Sector Beta, unviable. The loss of a central harvester is already a blemish. And if they don't have any more, Zarkon pointed out, we will have inefficiently delayed a necessary purge. Prolonged inefficiency is a blemish, the destruction of strategic assets is a catastrophe, Zarkon weighed, his mandibles tense. We must eliminate the threat with the least possible degradation of our own resources. The High Council's priority is total purification, but not self-destruction in the process. It is not a victory if our ships are crippled. We propose a confirmed threat probe protocol, suggested Zarkon. We would send a long-range penetration probe, disguised with a residual KRTAC energy signature, towards the surface. The probe would not attack, it would simply observe. If it detects the activation of energy patterns related to the preparation of a new dissonance projectile, we would have confirmation of their replication capability. This would allow us to readjust our strategy. HFY remained silent, his mind processing the probabilities. The risk of a damaged fleet by an inferior species was an even greater affront than the delay. I want the results of that probe. If we do not detect the preparation of those weapons, or if we detect that their capabilities are limited, the purification will be activated without reservations. We cannot allow a primitive entity to paralyze the will of the hegemony. The order was given. The Gamma-7 Annihilation Fleet would remain in a state of active standby. Earth had avoided immediate annihilation, not by brute force, but by a cunning display of a power that, to KRTAC logic, was a threat too costly to ignore. The Predator had hesitated, but its patience was finite. Chapter 41, The Demand for Explanations. The Emperor's cold fury was ignited, but not against Earth. His KRTAC logic sought the true culprit for his fleet's humiliation. If a primitive species like the terrestrial one had managed to halt the powerful Gamma-7 Annihilation Fleet, it was because someone else had intervened. The blemish was not Earth's, but that of whoever had altered it. From the command bridge of his mothership, Admiral Vale showed an image of Earth. The parasitic resonance signature, he said with a sharp tone, is not something the terrestrials developed on their own. It was implanted. Chief Scientist Zarkon confirmed. The data tracks the energy to an external source. It matches interference patterns we have seen before in other less developed systems. The Milky Way Council has been conspiring against us, I am sure of it. A world that does not know space travel cannot simply create something like that in such a short time, HFY stated. They have been manipulating planets we consider ready for harvest. An unacceptable intrusion into our territories. The image of Earth disappeared, replaced by a star map showing the Council's region. We lost the central harvester. And we had to delay our purification. It is a direct affront. It demands a response. Lord Scientist Zarkon began to cite a protocol for punishment, but XYLAR cut him off. This is not a minor intrusion. It is direct sabotage of a hegemony operation. We want explanations. We will not tolerate this humiliation without the responsible parties paying. The Gamma 7 Annihilation Fleet, instead of heading to Earth, changed its course. The warp engines hummed. They would not go to pulverize a planet, but to the heart of Council space. The Predator had been provoked, and its attention had been diverted to focus on a more bothersome enemy. Meanwhile, on Earth, there was no celebration. The apparent withdrawal of the KR-TAC fleet was not seen as a victory, but as a very brief respite. The planet's wounds were still open, but no one was thinking of reconstruction. In the subterranean shelters and secret military bases, the keyword was preparation. Terrestrial society, which had always been divided, was now united by the threat of extinction. There is no time to mourn the cities we lost, Solis said, via video conference, to the other rulers of each country. Their objective remains to destroy us. Our objective is to survive, and that means counterattacking. The information about the extraterrestrials, obtained from the Goliath missile and the remains of the Central Harvester, was analyzed day and night. They were copying and improving at full speed. They sought ways to make more, how to make them more powerful, and how to use them with different weapons. Improvised factories, protected and hidden in craters and caves, worked non-stop. Every resource, every person, every ounce of will, was focused on one thing, being ready for the inevitable return of the invaders. They had bought some time, but not the war. The Predator had paused, but had not abandoned its hunt. And Earth was not thinking of repairing, but of fighting. Chapter 42, The Confrontation at the Diplomatic Nexus. The Gamma 7 Annihilation Fleet, a clenched fist of KR-TAC steel and restrained fury, burst into the space of the Milky Way Council as a symbolic gesture to incite terror. They were not seeking to purge worlds, but a confrontation. The fate of Earth was, for the moment, secondary to the monumental affront the hegemony had suffered.